Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of New York Giants Corner. This is your man Joe. What a great day it is! It's like almost 6:30 Friday afternoon, the day after the first round draft. I'm exhausted because I had such a good time last night with those two picks. The way broke for the Giants early in the first round, and I was just super excited. I was just up all night podcasting. When came back from a bar last night, I hopped on our Untitled show covering the draft, and after that, I was just listening to as many videos as I could on the Giants picks, reading as many articles as I could. I was up early doing that as well. So I'm hope I'm bringing the enthusiasm. I am kind of tired, but I'm still super enthusiastic, but starting to run on fumes. But I had to do a quick little episode on our first round picks because it was a killer first round. Uh, think about this. Really, and this is pretty indisputable, the four most important positions in the NFL are quarterback, and that's by far number one. It's quarterback. And then after that, you can pretty much take your pick with either left tackle, just offensive tackle, edge, or defensive end, and cornerback, CB. Yesterday, we addressed edge in a big way, and while we already have a left tackle in Andrew Thomas, who I love, we just got a bookend in Evan Neal. And if something were to happen to Andrew Thomas, say like injury, Evan Neal will be able to switch over to the left side if needed. So we solidified the offensive line. We still need more talent on the interior. I think we did some slight upgrades in free agency at guard and in center, I guess. But I'd love to get another guy maybe in the third round if there's a good center or a good guard available. I'd like to get at least another pick because honestly, last year's draft class for offensive line was so good in 2021, and for us to get out of that draft without one offensive lineman was malpractice. But listen, we got the two bookends on the offensive line. I love the two guys that we got. I'm going to get into the details a little bit, but it's just looking really, really good in terms of key positions. We're starting to stack up. Offensive line, we got our two bookends. On the flip side of the ball, and then the defensive line, you got Kayvon Thibodeaux now. Kayvon Thibodeaux, this is a guy who is a legit star in the making. If he lives up to his potential, if he lives up to his ceiling, this is a star in the making. This is a guy, a pass rusher we haven't had since the heydays of JPP, and I'm talking about consistency. Like I like Leonard Williams. The guy is a really good defensive end on a 3-4 D line, but we needed a really good edge rusher as well, and that's Kayvon Thibodeaux. And this is a guy who's built to get to the quarterback. That's his skill set. It's to get to the quarterback. And behind him, who we drafted last year, Azeez Ojulari, this is a really nice pairing. And I always felt like, even last year, I felt like Azeez Ojulari was not going to be on a championship caliber team, not going to be a true number one edge rusher. He'd be a great wingman, but not a true number one. Thibodeaux is that number one. Again, it's the potential. It doesn't matter how high they were drafted. Um, in the draft, it doesn't really matter how well they played in college. It's all about what they could do in the NFL field, and that can take a little time to develop sometimes. But this guy's ceiling is through the roof. It was fantastic. It was funny. He was actually the fifth defensive player taken in the draft in a row. This draft started with five defensive players going, and they all made sense where they went. Again, you had Trayvon Walker go to the Jaguars at number one. That was a little bit of a surprise, but we've been hearing that more and more as a real possibility over the past 2 weeks, and it happened. And kudos to my cousin coach John Shepps, who placed a nice bet on that Trayvon Walker would go number one, and it happened. So he went out there, cool for him. So Trayvon Walker went number one. And then you had Aiden Hutchinson, Michigan boy, grew up in Michigan, went to University of Michigan, and now is a Detroit Lion. So I think that's a really cool story. Detroit's doing a really nice job of building the way a team should be built, and I really love what they're doing. So kudos to the Tigers, to the Lions. They did a great job there yesterday. And then let's see, pick three was Stingley. Uh, Stingley Jr. going to the Houston Texans. First cornerback taken off the board. Now, originally, for a long time, it had been assumed that it would be Gardner, but it wound up being Stingley. And we've been hearing that more and more over, I guess, the past 2 weeks that Stingley could go ahead of Gardner and that he could go to Houston. and lo and behold, he goes to Houston. Pick number 4, Jets. Jets could have went multiple different ways. They needed offensive line help. They also needed a lot of help all over the defense. Edge rusher, cornerback, pretty much everywhere and anywhere. And they took the guy who may be the best corner in the draft, but even if he's not 1A, he's basically 1B in Sauce Gardner. I believe Gardner has never let up a touchdown in college. That's impressive. So they got him. And a side note on the Jets, they also took Garrett Wilson later on at pick number 10. Wonderful pick. To give the young quarterback another weapon, and they traded back into the first round, I think at pick 26, and they moved up to pick 26 to get Jermaine Johnson, who I would have been very psyched with. If the Giants had actually taken him at 7, I would have been happy with that. Jermaine Johnson was pretty much mocked to go anywhere from like, I don't know, like pick 5 to like pick 25 or somewhere in the back end of the first round. He was mocked all over the place. But the Jets moved up to get him at 26. That was great. The Jets did fantastic. They had the best night overall, I think, in the NFL draft first round last night. I think kudos to the Ravens as well. The Ravens also look at the value they got. They got Kyle Hamilton, I think it was at pick 14, probably the best safety, or at least the best cover safety in the draft. And that guy is a center fielder. Baltimore is going to have so much flexibility with him. It's crazy. So they got Kyle Hamilton at number 14. That's a guy who easily could have went top 5, anywhere in the top 5. And they got the best center in the draft, and Tyler Linderbaum, I think, got picked 23, if I recall correctly. And so great draft by the Ravens. But this is about my Giants, and I want to continue to talk about them. So anyway, first 4 picks go. Top 2 edge rushers go, top 2 corners go. You got you got Kayvon Thibodeaux sitting there for the Giants, but you also have 3 tackles. You have 3 tackles sitting there. Giants, obviously, anyone who knows anything about the NFL, the Giants, besides being a bad team for 10 years, a lot of the source of their demise stems from their really bad offensive line being so bad basically for the past 10 years. So they had a choice of either going Thibodeaux or taking the offensive tackle of the choice. For me, at that point, it didn't matter. Originally, I was thinking like I wanted Aquanu because he was my overall number 1 offensive tackle. But for me, it was also between Aquanu and Neal. You're talking like 1A, 1B. I really didn't care. And then you had Thibodeaux sitting there. I'm like, screw it, man. Get Thibodeaux. Get Kayvon Thibodeaux. And it happened. That was awesome. I can't think of any other player that I would have taken besides Thibodeaux or Aquanu and Neal. There's no other defensive player I could think I would have taken at that time. Kayvon, I mean, yeah, the top corners were gone, and also Trayvon Walker and Aiden Hutchinson were gone. Thibodeaux could wind up being, and I'm not saying this because I'm a Giants fan. This is just legitimate. Kayvon Thibodeaux could wind up being the best edge rusher out of this draft. I'm not saying he will. Who knows? Maybe Trayvon Walker and Aiden Hutchinson wind up being the best in this draft. But even if they were, that doesn't mean Thibodeau's going to be bad either. The ceiling for each of these players is great, and they're very, very close. So Kayvon Thibodeaux at 5 is great. Panthers took my boy Aquanu at 6. That's A-OK. I was just happy that the Giants then took Neal at 7. I would have been okay with Cross with the thinking that Cross is considered the best pass protector out of the offensive tackles in this draft. I would have understood, but I really wouldn't have. I wouldn't have been too happy with it. I wouldn't have been upset, but I would have felt like we let Neal walk when we should have gotten the better. Neal is the better player. He was the better play, and this guy has played right tackle before, so he should be able to step right in. Both Aquanu and Cross have played only left tackle. Neal has played both, so he should be able to step in game 1, be the right tackle. I assume he's going to be at least pretty good in the beginning, and then just get better and better as season 1 goes along. It brings so much to the Giants' offense in terms of providing stability on the offensive line, giving their quarterback, whether it's Daniel Jones or anyone else, time to actually read and do his progressions. It's going to help out Saquon Barkley. And if those wide receivers are there, it's going to actually stay healthy. We'll see if they can stay healthy. It's going to give them time to actually get open and their quarterback, whoever it is, to get them the ball. So I'm really excited about it. It couldn't have broken better for the Giants, really. I'm really ecstatic. And like I said, listen, take your pick. The 4 key positions again: quarterback, offensive tackle, edge, and cornerback. And we just addressed two of those four key positions yesterday at the top of the first round. So great job by the Giants' new regime. Kudos to you guys. And think about this too. Here's something else to think about. Um, for especially early on in this draft period, going back to like December, January, and, even early February, many times both Kayvon Thibodeaux and Evan Neal were alternately mocked as being or being considered like the overall number one value in this draft. They basically took turns, alternating turns. Hutchinson eventually moved up ahead of Thibodeaux. Ekwonu eventually moved up ahead of Neal. And then you had Trayvon Walker who shot up at the end there, and then the cornerbacks too. Okay, and the cornerbacks as well. But really, it's not like Thibodeaux or Neal really did anything to drop. It was more like these players just elevated themselves. And so, but like I said, it's for a long time Thibodeaux was considered entering this previous college season. Thibodeaux was considered to be the expected number one overall pick. So if you told me back in September that we'd be getting Thibodeaux without being the overall number one pick, I wouldn't have believed it. Even at number five, to be honest with you. But I definitely felt like it by this point, by yesterday, before the draft started, that there'd be a chance he'd be there. And I figured there'd be a good chance, not 100% chance, but a good 50-50 chance he'd be there. And if he was, and if we still had some offensive tackles to choose from at number seven, man, we are cooking, baby. We are cooking. So right now, it's looking really good for the Giants here. Again, where you've got Thibodeaux and you've got Ojulari, these two young edge rushers, and you also have Leo Williams playing, the right defensive end in the 3-4 line. He's playing the same position as Leonard Marshall did for the Giants in the 1980s when they played a 3-4 defense back then. And I like Leo a lot. I just want to talk about him for 1 second. I appreciate him a lot more than other people do. He's got to do a lot on a defense that's not been that talented at getting to the quarterback besides himself. Well, he's got some bandits, some hot ass bandits who are going to be playing alongside him now, who can bring the heat as well. Leo Williams, his job is to, he's really got to stuff the run as well as get to the quarterback, disrupt things back there as a 3-4 defensive end. It's not easy. It's easier to do it as a 4-3 defensive end because you're getting more help on the interior. Remember, Leo's at the end of a 3-4 line. So he's got a lot more on his plate. I like Leo Williams a lot. I like him on the Giants. I think he's underappreciated by many. But I think having Thibodeaux and Ojulari in his second year, it's going to make things easier for Leo. So I think they just exponentially, at least on paper, have exponentially just increased their ability to get to the quarterback in the near future. And man, I'm really excited. I'd like to see a guard, a legitimate guard or center added not in the second round, but in the third round. But I'll tell you, offensive linemen are flying off the board in this draft, understandably so, as are wide receivers. Originally, I came to this draft wanting to get a wide receiver, like somewhere in the first 3 rounds. I'm not sold on that anymore. They're flying off the board. I really don't want to take one in the second round at this point. I'd rather go cornerback or safety or even defensive tackle or linebacker. I'd rather do that, or maybe even trade McBride at this point at pick 36 if he's available. I think that's still too early for a tight end, to be honest with you. I'd rather stick on the defensive side of the ball, pick 36. This is going to be a really good player at positions of need. Again, cornerback, safety, linebacker, defensive tackle. There's going to be some really good players available to pick from. So anyway, guys, I hope I did bring the enthusiasm. I am kind of gassed. Like I said, I think I had like 3 hours of sleep last night, but I'm just kind of running on fumes, but they are good fumes. I'm really excited about this first round for the Giants. It's been great. And before I go, let me check out the comments. Chris's videos. How are you, buddy? The Daxton Hill pick was amazing. Daxton Hill. I forgot who went to I forgot who got Daxton Hill, but I love Daxton Hill. And I was kind of hoping he'd fall to pick 36 in the Giants in the beginning of the second round, but Daxton Hill was first round talent. He should have won the first round. He deserved it. I'm glad he went. I only just wish that he'd fallen to the Giants at 36. But Good to see you, Chris. Thanks for chiming in, man. Really appreciate Chris's videos. Chris's videos is our #1 fan here at Toilets to Titles. But anyway, guys, I'm out of here. Just want to do a quick video. I'm going to sign off. I am going to be back later. We may be doing a there may be a Toilets to Titles draft episode kicking off tonight at 7 o'clock, possibly. Um, if not, I am doing a video on a Giants content creators podcast called New York Giants Rush. I'm going on. I think it's 7:35. I'm not sure how long I'm supposed to be on. If I'm not on that long, if I'm only on for like 15 minutes or something like that, then I'm coming right back over to Toilets to Titles, and I'm going to start a Toilets to Titles, day two draft video. So, we'll do it live, and I'll try to stick through the entire draft tonight. But anyway, guys, have a good night. Giants fans out there, my fellow Giants fans, what an awesome start to the draft. I love it. Have a good night. I'll catch you all later. Take care. And don't forget to subscribe, please, here on YouTube. Subscribe and hit that like button while you're at it. Peace. I'll catch you tomorrow. Take care.